Yeah, thank you very much, Simon. We just had Nico Hülkenberg here who came down. He hadn't actually seen the incident, so Jenson and I were just showing it to him for the first time, which does happen, isn't it? You know, when you're a racing driver, you haven't had a chance to go watch it. You've arrived straight here. Yeah, poor guy.
Yeah, exactly. You can't really understand the angles or anything that's happened or where people are around you while you're in the car. It's very difficult. So, yeah, we cleared it out for him.
And let's try and clear it up for everyone else. So, let's first look at it from off-board, Jenson, because Verstappen, good start, cuts to the inside. Oscar got a better start than Lando, gets his nose in front. And at this stage, it all looks quite normal, right? I'm just going to pause it here, because at this point, I think let's go back a couple of frames. At this point, I think Hülkenberg's aware Alonso's coming down the inside. He's expecting Oscar to carry on there, and then he carries on here, he goes on there, and it's all should be clear and fine, but that's not what happens. Go on. What do you think at this point?
No, I totally agree with you, and we've watched this a few times now. The issue is that obviously Oscar's seen Lando at turn one, he's gone a bit deep, and he's like, right, I'm going to slow the car down. I'm going to switch back and get a good exit, which is fine in a race situation when you're racing just one other car. But when you have 17 cars braking as late as they can into turn one, it just never works because you'll end up with a car on your side.
And then, now let's go on board, because this is the Hülkenberg on the left, Piastri on the right, and let's try and illustrate and really replay what you've just talked about. So slow it right down. So at this point, Hülkenberg's looked in his mirror. He just told us as well, he saw Fernando coming. So he can't go further to the left. Oscar's steering angle there indicates he's going to follow Lando around. But now this is the bit that he cuts across, isn't it? Let's actually, you know what, let's show people full frame. There, Oscar turns in. I mean, look at his hands at this point. He's got 180 degrees full steering lock. And you cut to Hülkenberg at this stage. He suddenly realized, oh, goodness, he's coming towards my car. Yeah. There's nothing Nico could do.
No, nothing at all. Even if Fernando wasn't on the inside, look at how much steering lock that Piastri has. Hülkenberg has to do the same thing, but he's reacted late to it because you're reacting to what the car is doing in front. So it's a really tricky situation, but that sort of start and that type of corner, the switchback is a really tricky thing to do and get away with.
It's a risky thing to do, isn't it? Because there's always, especially when you start at the front, there's a pack of cars coming behind you. Let's look at it from a different perspective. Fernando Alonso. Now, Alonso, we know, made a decent start, but the opportunistic part was the lunge now across the left-hand side, which you would do. And it was all looking okay, wasn't it? Because, again, look at this point. If I was in that cockpit, I'm looking at those McLarens, I'm expecting Oscar to carry on there, I would say.
Yep.
But that's obviously not what happens. And Fernando, you know, again, he had space. He wasn't really going to make contact with Nico until it all got smelly, I think. And unfortunately for him, his car's, in fact, just being wheeled past the sky pad. You can't see it here. It's on the other side of the camera. But unfortunately for him.
It's always very difficult when you make it three wide into turn one on any corner, because this corner really opens up and then it gets really pinches you at the apex. But I thought that was a good move by Fernando. It was risky, but it looked like it was all going to plan. Hülkenberg knew he was there. There was enough room for three abreast, but they just didn't anticipate that Oscar was going to try and get the switchback as much as he did.
And the big beneficiary, I'm just going to show one last clip here, is Yuki Tsunoda, because he gained 11 places. Let's go on board with him. And you can see the chaos is starting to unfold up ahead there. Yuki stops right at the apex, really slows the car down, tries not to run the back of the Racing Bull, does actually make contact there. And then he's got that front wing. He's got nowhere to go and goes over it.
He can't go anywhere apart from drive over it. Full throttle, nice straight line here, but it's not over. There's a tyre crossing the track. There's a slow-moving McLaren on the right-hand side and a slow-moving, was it the Aston Martin on the left? So threading the needle and came out in P7.
With the front wing still stuck underneath his car. So it worked out well for him, and he ended up in the points there. But really, I think, you know, yes, first lap, generally you classify it as a racing incident. But as we both said, Simon, you've seen Oscar Piastri there was the one who could have avoided it, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing is, when you're fighting for a championship and your main rival is the person that's next to you, that's all you're thinking about at that moment in time. So to think, oh, there's going to be another three cars trying to get up the inside of me if I do a switchback, your mind's not really there, I don't think.
And unlike Singapore, this time both McLarens out of the race. Simon, any repercussions, you
Well,
think?
I mean, I'm going to come back to you on this. Stay there, chaps. Just first of all, I want to I mean, yes, okay, well, it's not gone to the stewards. It is a lap 1 incident, but so too was Singapore. And then there's an internal review. It's a breach of papaya rules because they've come together. Do you think, and do you agree with the guys here, you're both saying that Oscar's potentially more at fault, are you, than Lando?
100%. I mean, when we were watching this at speed, when it was happening, it really looked like they both slowed down so much into turn 1, and Oscar was being really careful. And this is what can happen sometimes if you're trying to stay away from each other so much and doing something sort of outside of your norm of possibly racing him around the corner and staying on the outside and going at it that way. He slowed down, and then you saw, obviously, he had the big turnover, because inside the cockpit, it's such a different view than obviously we get to see from an aerial or other camera views. So it is open, but you have to understand, like, that is, everybody, as Jenson said, is racing down into the first corner with as much speed as possible, going as far forward as possible, and he had slowed up a little extra, so it closed up any gap that would have been there, and it was avoidable. I mean, he could have fallen in line behind Lando and carried on, but instead, he just got invited into that gap that he saw, and he thought, man, I'm on the outside, I'm going slow already, I'll try this, but it was a bad judgment call.
Well, and because they're free to race, they are free to race. But let's come back to you guys then. So if you go back to Singapore a fortnight ago, Lando went for the gap. He clipped Max Verstappen, which then thrust him into Oscar Piastri. And as a result of that, there were repercussions. Again, as we said, we don't know what they are. Some people know what they were, but they're not going to say. On the shoe's on the other foot here, right? In much the same way, except both of them went out. So are you expecting on this occasion, on the review of McLaren, something to happen to Oscar?
You go.
What a great question. Thank you, Lazenby. If I was a team principal, no, because it's one of those things. And from what Zach has said so far, other cars drove into Oscar. But from a racing driver's point of view, I would say that it was more on Oscar. Lando's not even in this conversation. Yeah. He's not even part of this conversation or part of this incident. He was just unlucky to be there, the car that Oscar ended up hitting.
And I think, in my opinion, I agree, I wouldn't have done anything here, but I also wouldn't have done anything for Singapore, because for me that was also just a lap 1 racing incident. So I think the tricky thing they've got themselves into now is internally, by doing what they did after Singapore and then publicly declaring it, it's kind of set a bit of a precedent. So to me, it's one of the things you would have just let sleeping dogs lie, but they haven't, so let's see what they do.
But what goes around, I suppose, comes around. The difficulty here, we're in a sprint weekend. We've got to get ready for qualifying. They've got to both get ready for qualifying, and then they've got to effectively repeat this tomorrow. So they need to get... Do they need to straighten this out ahead of the race and make, impart different rules for them?
Well, there's two things they need to sort out. One is they need to build the cars for qualifying. Yeah. We're actually seeing one come back now, so it's still not back in the garage, which is never nice for the mechanics. So yeah, it's Norris's car coming back. But then also they need to sort out what is okay on track and not. And I think Zach is always going to say it was another party's fault in this incident, because they don't want to get any more questions from us, which they're still going to do.
Yeah, but I understand Nico Hülkenberg swung by the sky pad. Did he say anything on that?
I mean, he kind of agreed with what we were saying. You know, he basically said he was fully aware that Alonso was inside. And I think that's the only slight defense for Oscar, is that he wouldn't have known. I'll show you the side-by-side again. We'll try and pick the point. He wouldn't have been able to know that Alonso was inside Hülkenberg, right? So he's thinking to himself, I'm quite wide at the apex. And, you know, at this point, you could see Hülkenberg. If we just cut to the onboard we're showing on the SkyPad here, you could see there, Hülkenberg is obviously, he's wide at the apex there. Sorry, the arrow's not working. There we go. He's there because Alonso's inside. Oscar can't know Alonso's there, so he would have thought, I'll cut back, expecting Nico to move further left. That's the only bit of defense, I think, for Oscar, is he wouldn't have known that it's 3 wide.
Well, Oscar doesn't know what to be fair, you're not really looking in your mirrors in that point. You're trying to overtake the car in front. For him to be looking in the mirrors and turning at the same time, he doesn't really know what's going on behind him. So, yeah, he's not turned in thinking, oh, they'll get out the way, or there's only one car there. You really don't know what's happening at that moment.
And there you go. Back to you,
Yeah,
Simon.
I mean, it might not seem beautiful, but that is the beauty of Turn 1 here
Look.
from
Oh, wait, hang on. George has come for a look.
Oh.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, come and have a look. Do you want to see? I'll show you the off-board first.
Let's get George's.
You're on air, just so you know.
I'm on air.
Yeah.
Oh my God, all right. I'll be careful.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, hold on. And then,
So did Hulk go down the inside of the McLaren?
so Alonso's gone inside of Hulk.
Okay.
And then,
All right. Ooh.
Oscar's.
Yeah, cut back. I mean, yeah. Is that anyone's fault?
You're looking at me.
I don't know. I don't want to say anything controversial. I don't want to say anything controversial.
Especially has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, that was great.
Wait, have a look at this, have a look at this. Because, I tell you what, the onboard's fine.
Yeah, I mean, when you cut back, it's always like a bit of a blind spot, so...
He's obviously, they're side by side. There's
Yeah.
Lando.
Yeah, he's turned in. Oh, yeah. Reminds me a bit of when I T-boned Carlos at turn 1 a few years ago. So, yeah.
Well done. Well, there you go. That's what George thinks.